It is 9:30 on Christmas Eve. As I sit down to write this, my young family are huddled around the fire in the drawing room, still telling ghost stories. It is a sport for them, a high-spirited and harmless game among young people. I can hear them now, vying with one another to tell the horridest, most spine-chilling tale. They speak of dripping stone walls in uninhabited castles, of secret dungeons and overgrown graveyards, howlings, shriekings, groanings and scuttlings, hooded monks and headless horsemen. This is sport indeed, an ancient tradition for the festive season, and to be sure, nothing of which I can possibly disapprove. The truth is quite other, and altogether more terrible.
Stepfather? Oh, here you are. We wondered where you were hiding.
I'm not hiding, Isabel. I'm just enjoying a little peace and quiet. Too much excitement for an old chap like me, I'm afraid.
I wonder you can bear to be alone after Edmund's story. It was the best yet. When those fingers started scratching at the window pane, I thought I should faint.
Yes, your brother certainly has a most vivid imagination.
What are you writing there?
Nothing. A letter. It's of no importance.
Good, because it's your turn.
My turn for what?
To tell a story.
No, I don't think so.
Come on, stepfather, you must. Everyone else has. Even Mother managed one. Well, of sorts.
No, Isabel, I really would rather not.
Oh, don't be an old spoil sport. It is Christmas Eve.
No. No, I'm sorry, nothing from me.
Isabel? We're all waiting, come on.
It's stepfather. He's being a bit shy. He won't come.
Oh, I say, sir. Be a sport. We've got all the lights out, and the fire's died right down. Edmund's giving a corking performance of hooting owls and howling wind. Your audience awaits you.
Well, I fear they must wait on, Oliver. I'm quite comfortable in here, by myself.
Well, that's hardly the Christmas spirit, is it?
I'm sorry.
Isabel, go and fetch Mother. Tell her her husband is being most uncooperative.
Isabel, wait.
Aha! I thought that would do the trick.
Both of you, please. Just leave me. Go back to the drawing room and amuse yourselves. I'm sure Edmund can come up with another tale in place of mine.
But that's not the point. It's a competition. We each tell one and then decide whose was the best. Oh, you must be able to think of one ghost story, surely.
Everybody knows at least one.
Do your stuff, stepfather. Play the game.
Come on, please. You can't let us down.
Enough! I'm sorry to disappoint you all, but I have no story to tell.
Right. Fair enough. We'll,
Come on, it's getting late. I think perhaps it's time for bed.
Yes, right.
Good night, Father.
Good night, sir. Sorry to have interrupted you.
Oh, my dear Isabel, how right you are. I do have a story, a true story, a story of haunting and evil, fear and confusion, horror and tragedy. But it is not a story to be told around the fireside on Christmas Eve. I have always known, of course, in my heart, that the experience would never leave me, that it was now woven into my very fibres. And now tonight, it again fills my mind to the exclusion of all else. It seems the high spirits of my dear stepchildren have forced me to renew my acquaintance with that mortal dread and terror of spirit I had hoped forever dead. And I know I shall have no rest from it, shall lie awake in a chill of sweat, until I've gone back to that other world and relived the horrors of that time, that place.
Arthur?
Oh, Esme, dearest.
Oh,
Arthur, what is it? What's wrong? Are you unwell? The children were quite upset. They said they'd never seen you so angry.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'll apologize to them in the morning.
Why, it's so unlike you, Arthur.
Yes, I know. I don't know what came over me. I simply felt a little unwell. Too much excitement. All that rich food, I suppose, and the heat. But it was unforgivable. I shall make amends tomorrow, I promise.
They love you, Arthur, like their own father. And I love you too. But we worry sometimes. You work too hard. You must try to rest. This is a holiday.
I know. And I shall, Esme, believe me.
Promise?
I promise.
Good. I'm going up now. Will you come?
Shortly. 5 more minutes, no more.
Good night, my darling. Now, don't be too long.
Good night, Esme. I recall that the way to banish an old ghost that continues its hauntings is to exorcise it. Well then, mine shall be exorcised. I shall tell my tale, write my own ghost story. And then perhaps I shall at last be free to enjoy whatever life remains for me. Years have passed since then, some 30-odd. And yet, on this Christmas Eve, I can recall it all, every last terrible detail, as if it were yesterday.
The Woman in Black, from the novel by Susan Hill, adapted for radio by John Strickland. Episode 1, A Journey and a Funeral.
Morning, Tomes.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Kip, sir. Shall I put your coat to dry, sir?
Yes, thank you, Tomes. This fog, it's so damp. I'm quite soaked.
Yes, sir. Oh, it's a regular particular out there, sir.
Indeed it is, Tomes. It's quite the dreariest month of the year, November. Lowering to the spirits. Is Mr. Bentley in yet?
Oh, yes, sir. Mr. Bentley has been at his desk an hour or more.
Well, yes. Well, it took rather longer than usual to get here this morning.
Oh, I'm sure it did, sir.
Still clinging onto that cold, Tomes.
What coal's that, sir?
Right. Well, what have we first today, then?
Oh, more conveyancing, sir. Property leases.
Oh, dear. Dull work for a dull day, eh?
Mr. Bentley asks to see you first, sir.
Straight away?
As soon as you arrived, he said, sir.
Oh, right. Well, in we go, then.
Mr. Kipps is here, sir. Finally.
Ah, good. Arthur, come in. Sit ye down. Sit ye down. Thank you, Tomes.
Sir?
I'm sorry I'm late, sir. I was just telling Tomes that...
I don't think I ever told you about the extraordinary Mrs. Drablow, Arthur.
No, sir.
Drablow, Mrs. Alice Drablow, Vealmarsh House. Dead, don't you know?
Ah, I'm sorry.
Yes. I inherited Mrs. Drablow from my father. Her family had had their business with this firm for... Oh, years.
Oh, yes.
She was a good age, 87.
And that's her will you have there, I take it, sir?
Mrs. Drablow was, as they say, a rumman. Ever heard of the Nine Lives Causeway?
No, never.
Nor ever of Vealmarsh House?
No, sir.
Never visited the place at all?
No, I'm afraid not.
Oh, don't be afraid, Arthur. Living there, anyone might become rum.
Well, I've only a hazy idea of where it is.
Then, my boy, go home, pack your bags, and take the afternoon train from King's Cross, changing at Crewe, and again at Homerby. From Homerby, you take the branch line to the little market town of Criffin Gifford, and after that, it's a wait for the tide.
The tide, sir?
Well, you can only cross the causeway at low tide. That takes you on to Vealmarsh and the house.
Mrs. Drablow's.
And when the tide comes in, you're cut off until it's low again. Remarkable place. Years since I was there, of course. My father took me. She didn't greatly care for visitors.
Was she a widow?
Since quite early in her marriage, yes.
Children?
Children? No. According to everything we've been told about Mrs. Drablow, no, there were no children.
Did she have a great deal of money? Or land?
Well, she owned a house, of course, and a few properties in Crithing Gifford, shops with tenants, that sort of thing. There is a poor sort of farm, half underwater, and there are the usual small trusts and investments.
Then it all sounds perfectly straightforward.
It does it not?
May I ask why I am to go there, sir?
Why? To represent this firm at the funeral of one of our oldest and most esteemed clients.
Oh, yes, of course.
I wondered whether to go up myself, naturally, but there is a chance Lord Boltrop will need to see me, so I really ought to be here, do you see?
Yes, of course, sir.
And then again, it is high time to put a little more onto your shoulders, Arthur. It's no more than you're capable of, isn't it?
I certainly hope not, sir. I'll be very glad to go up to Mrs. Drablow's funeral, naturally.
There is a bit more to it than that, Arthur.
The will?
Yes, that too. I'll let you have the details through it on your journey. But principally, you're to go through Mrs. Drablow's documents, her private papers, whatever they may be, wherever they may be, and bring them back to this office.
I see, sir.
Mrs. Drablow was somewhat disorganized, shall I say? It might take you a while.
A day or two?
Oh, at least a day or two, Arthur. Of course, things may have changed. I may be quite mistaken. Perhaps you'll clear it all up in an afternoon. As I say, it's many years since I was there.
And will there be anyone there to help me?
Oh, yes, I've made arrangements. There's a local man, Jerome, dealing with it all. He'll be in touch with you.
And presumably she had friends? Neighbours?
No. Eelmarsh House is far from any neighbours.
And being a rumman, she'd never made any friends, I suppose.
Oh, come along, Arthur. Look on the bright side. Treat the whole thing as a jaunt. At least we'll take you out of this fog for a day or two. Now then, you'll reach Crithing Gifford by late this evening. There's a small hotel you can put up at for tonight, and the funeral is tomorrow morning at 11. Yes, Holmes.
Your 10 o'clock client, sir.
Good. Show him in. Right you are, Arthur. Any problems? I know I can trust you to uphold the firm's reputation.
Yes, sir. I hope you can, sir.
Well, don't dither in the doorway, man. There's work to do. Work to do and little time in which to do it.
Yes, sir. Well, Holmes?
You'll be needing your coat then, sir. Not had much of a chance to dry off yet, I'm afraid.
I must say, Holmes, for all it's a strange part of the world I'm going to, it's a relief to be leaving this appalling fog and unhealthy atmosphere.
Oh, you'll be needing these too, sir.
What? Oh, yes, the Drablow papers. Some light reading for the journey. Hey, Holmes.
I had to return to my rooms, pack a bag for a couple of nights, and scribble a note to my fiancée, Stella, whom I hoped to marry the following year. After that, I was to catch a train to a remote corner of England, of which until a few moments before I had barely heard. Nothing could have raised my spirits more than the sight of that great cavern of a railway station. I purchased newspapers at the bookstall and walked down the platform with a light step.
All aboard for crew! The 1243 for crew! All aboard now!
I found a corner seat in an empty compartment and settled down in great contentment. A couple of other passengers joined me, but after nodding briefly, were as intent on applying themselves to their papers as myself. Beyond the windows, it was quickly dark, and when the carriage blinds were down, all was as cosy and enclosed as some lamplit study, as we sped a good many uneventful miles towards the heart of England. At Crewe, I changed with ease and continued on my way. It was only when I came to change again onto the branch line at the small station of Homerby that I began to be less comfortable. The train in which I was to travel the last hour of my journey was ancient and comfortless, smelling of cold, stale smuts, the windows grimed, the floor unswept. Until the very last second, it seemed I was to be alone. But just at the blowing of the guard's whistle, another man climbed in, swinging the door shut as the train began to pull away.
It's a poor night out there. It seems I've exchanged one kind of poor weather for another. I left London in the grip of an appalling fog, and up here it seems cold enough for snow.
It's not snow.
No?